Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. So yesterday we dropped news that Terence Crawford had been stripped of the IBF welterweight championship and that Jaron Ennis had been elevated to full champion. We know that prior to the announcement yesterday, Jaron Ennis was the interim champion. Now, we did a poll yesterday on our channel and we got around 3,000 votes or so asking whether or not it was fair that Terence Crawford got stripped. And 36% of the people felt like Terence Crawford should have been stripped because he did not fight Jaron Ennis. Another 22% of the people that voted felt that Terence Crawford should have been stripped because he's not going to fight at 47 again. So in total, 58% of the people felt that Terence Crawford should have been stripped. Well, I'm here to tell you that the WBC and the WBO should also follow suit and strip Terence Crawford of his welterweight championships. Now, I know that that's not going to be popular for a number of reasons, because a number of people are going to feel that we are essentially hating on Terence Crawford. I know that for whatever reason, this channel has a reputation of being a Terence Crawford hater, even though there's been a number of occasions that we've actually agreed with Terence Crawford. This opinion is not a knock towards Terence Crawford, but it is more so an observation. When you look at the WBC, we know that Errol Spence was going to face Keith Thurman. He was the mandatory and was supposed to face him sometime probably around the time that he actually fought Terence Crawford. And we know that Terence Crawford was scheduled to face Alexis Rocha for the WBO championship. The reason why I'm saying that these two sanctioning bodies should also follow suit is because the reason that the IBF actually stripped Terence Crawford is because he has a contractual obligation to face Errol Spence. So if he is unable to fulfill his mandatory obligation to the IBF, he will also be unable to fulfill his mandatory obligation to the WBC and the WBO. So if he's not going to fight their mandatory next, which it doesn't look like he will be able to do so because of the contractual obligation to face Errol Spence, they should go ahead and strip him. And the reason why I think that's beneficial and the reason why personally I would like to see him stripped, not because I have any ill will or any issue with Terence Crawford. It is because, number one, I do not believe Terence Crawford is going to fight at 147 pounds again. He has been adamant and very vocal that he would like to face Canelo Alvarez. We know that he has the the contractual obligation to fight Errol Spence next. They want it to be at 154. They've been negotiating this. More than likely, if the rematch occurs, it will be at 54. And Terence Crawford has stated out of his own mouth that he doesn't really necessarily want to be at 147 anymore. So there's no reason for him to hold on to titles. Terence Crawford and Errol Spence have tied up the welterweight division for quite some time now. And it's time for that division to move forward. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be in the comment section talking about Errol Spence and that he didn't defend his IBF title for 4 years and all this other stuff. Errol Spence and Terence Crawford have the same amount of defenses over the last 4 years of their titles. They've had the same amount of defenses. And not only that, Errol was actually fighting to unify titles as well, which is partially why he wasn't always defending in some of those fights. And we know the history of some of the incidents that have occurred with Errol Spence. So I really don't want to hear that. They've had literally the same number of defenses. Same number, guys. Ocampo and Danny Garcia for Errol Spence, and then Mean Machine and Porter, if I'm not mistaken, for Terence Crawford. So I think it's the right move. We want to see that division open up. You got Jaron Ennis, who is now the full champion. We saw Jaron Ennis recently post what excuses are they going to make now in regards to facing him. He has a title, which means that the likes of Keith Thurman and Emantis Stanionis and all these guys should now have a renewed or at least an elevated level of interest in facing Jaron Ennis because he has that title and it's an opportunity to unify and also become undisputed. And so we want to see those guys. You got Barrios, who's now trying to be a player at that division. You got some other names there. also that want to be players at that division, Crawley and so forth. And so these guys relinquishing those titles and moving on is, I think, what's best for that division and also really good for the sport. So that's how I feel about it. I know a lot of people, again, they're going to come in the comments section. They're going to say, oh, you guys are hating, this, that, and the third. It's truly not hate. I just don't see any reason to continue to have Terence Crawford as your champion at welterweight when he has no desire to be there. And him just holding on to a title for what? What is he just holding on to the title for? And Terence Crawford fans, help me understand, why are you so upset that Terence Crawford has been stripped? He won the titles. He's become undisputed in 2 different weight classes. That has already been accomplished. So there's no reason for him to continue to hold the titles if he's not going to actually fight at 47, which it doesn't appear that he's going to fight at 47. I think what's currently going on between he and Errol Spence is just a play to try to renegotiate terms from the original contract. You guys know how I feel about that. I think they had already supposedly ironed out all the details in the initial contract. And it feels like now Terence Crawford is trying to find a loophole in order to alter those agreed upon terms. I personally don't care for that, but we'll see what ends up happening there. But at the end of the day, if we know that he has no interest in being at 147, he's contractually obligated to face Errol Spence. Errol wants it at 54. Terence doesn't really want to be at 47 anymore. He wants to be at 54 and maybe even 68 to face Canelo Alvarez. And we know that Errol is going to be his biggest fight. So that's the fight he's going to make next. And Errol's not going to fight at 47. He's going to fight at 54. And when I say the biggest fight for Terence Crawford, it's biggest money fight. So there's no reason why he should still have the titles. The WBO and the WBC should follow suit and strip him. Now the WBA, I don't think they have as well. Actually, they may have a legitimate argument as well, now that I think about it, because I believe Errol should have defended against Montes Stanionis as well. So they may have a legitimate argument as well in terms of stripping Terence Crawford if he is unable to face his mandatory next. And again, I think the IBF just made that decision because they know that he's not fighting their fighter next. It doesn't matter. It's not like there's a true desire for him to stay at 147 pounds. It's not like he reached out to the IBF and said, hey, I'm staying at 147. Work with me. I'm going to fight Terence or fight Errol Spence or if that doesn't materialize, then I'm gonna figure out what fighter I'm gonna fight next. I think they probably would allow him to hold on to the titles, but because I don't think he stated that, and publicly he stated that he wants to do something completely different, I don't think they gave him that ability to do so, to keep his title. So you guys tell me what you think in the comment section in regards to that. I feel that he should be stripped by at least two of the other sanctioning bodies, maybe even the third one. I know this is going to be received as hate, but it is what it is. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast, AM Sports Media, and I am